When you close the door on modern cars, you hear the sound of thin sheet metal and plastic. But the moment you close the door of a Mercedes built in the 1980s, the world stops for a second. That sound whispers to you, the chaos outside is over. You are now inside a Swiss bank vault. Welcome to our channel. Today, we are turning the pages of the absolute pinnacle of automotive history, the last golden era where accountants were barred from the engineering desk, the Mercedes-Benz W124. It is an immortal machine that taxi drivers couldn't burn through and finish over millions of kilometers. African warriors couldn't tear apart in the deserts, and German executives used to chase down Ferraris with on the Autobahn. The board of directors in Stuttgart had forbidden the engineers from thinking about money. The order was absolute. Build us the best car in the world. We will worry about the price tag later. The result? A monument raised from steel, representing the very definition of over-engineering. When you look at this car from the outside, you see a brick-like, boxy sedan, don't you? Don't be fooled. Behind this simplicity lies the genius of chief designer Bruno Sacco. His philosophy was clear. A new model should never make its predecessor look obsolete overnight. But the real miracle was in the hidden aerodynamics. The drag coefficient of this boxy car was a mere 0.28. For comparison, even a 2000 sports car like the Ferrari 360 Modena, with its 0.33 coefficient, loses against this butterfly when facing the wind. The sharp V shape on the trunk lid, the special holes on the wheel covers, everything was calculated to slice through the air like a bullet. Even the fact that the right wing mirror was smaller and squarer than the left one was not for aesthetics. It was a pure engineering calculation to eliminate blind spots and reduce aerodynamic drag. Friends, look closely. There is a mechanical psychopathy in every detail of this car. Perhaps you remember that famous single windshield wiper on the front glass. As it wiped the windshield and reached the corners, it would extend outward telescopically, and when it came to the center, it would retract so it wouldn't rip the roof rubber. This complex mechanism cleaned a staggering 86% of the front windshield. To the accountants, it was an unnecessary expense. But for the engineers, maximum visibility while driving at 200 kilometers per hour in a pouring downpour was an absolute necessity. Every body style contained a different invention.
They've ever built
in the station wagon version, they installed a hydropneumatic self-leveling suspension so the rear wouldn't sag. In 1985, they invented the world's first vacuum-closing trunk mechanism so that the heavy trunk lid wouldn't create a pressure spike in the cabin and pop the passengers' ears. Furthermore, since they eliminated the B-pillar in the coupe model, they placed robotic arms inside that extended the rear position seatbelt right to the driver's shoulder line. In the convertible model, they hid special vibration-absorbing weights in all four corners of the car to eliminate chassis shutters. The secret behind the W124 riding like a flying carpet on the road is the 5-link independent rear suspension. They pushed the computers of that era to their limits for months to design this system that controls every single axis of motion of the wheel in a three-dimensional space. They even mathematically synchronized the deflection frequency of the steel springs inside the seats with the car's suspension system so that the passengers' spines wouldn't fatigue and they wouldn't get motion sickness. And what about those tank engines under the hood? The OM series diesels. Today, you can see diesel W124 taxis in Germany or Morocco that have left 2 million kilometers behind. Made from a cast iron block, these engines are so durable that even if you pour frying oil into them instead of diesel, they will burn it and keep moving along the road. Of course, not everything was flawless. In the gasoline inline-6 E124 engines, chronic oil leaks would occur from the cylinder head gasket due to the different expansion coefficients of the aluminum head and the cast iron block. As for the first generation all-wheel drive systems, they had packed them with so much complex electronics and hydraulics that when they broke down 20 years later, the repair cost more than the second-hand value of the car itself. And the wildest secret alliance in the automotive world, the 500e. To counter the performance onslaught of its competitors, Mercedes squeezed that massive 5.0-liter V8 engine from their sports model into this innocent family car. However, the chassis widened so much that the car physically could not fit onto Mercedes' serial production assembly line. The robots were smashing into the fenders. Instead of spending billions of dollars to restructure the factory, they called up their neighbors Porsche, who was facing bankruptcy in those years. A logistical madness began. The chassis were shipped by trucks to Porsche, where they were cut and welded by hand, sent back to Mercedes to be painted, and shipped back to Porsche's facilities to have the engine and suspension assembled. While a normal W124 was ready in a few days, the production of a single 500e took a full 18 days. This beast, with 326 horsepower, became the life-saving grace that rescued Porsche from sinking. But by the mid-1990s, the wind began to blow in the opposite direction. When Japanese competitors started selling the same level of quietness for half the price, Mercedes management panicked. They struck the first blow in the name of ecology. In 1993, they switched to biodegradable electrical wiring harnesses. However, those wires didn't wait to be buried in the ground. Under the heat of the engine, they began to crumble, flake off, and disintegrate right under the hood when the cars were just 5 years old, causing short circuits and frying expensive engine control units. The absolute fatal blow, however, came when a businessman who cared about shareholder profits took over the company instead of an engineer. The strings fell into the hands of the accountants. In 1995, production of the W124 sedan ended, replaced by the W210, famously known as the Four Eyes. To cut costs, they switched to cheap, non-galvanized metals and water-based paints. And what was the result? A total Mercedes disgrace that spat out rust from every corner just 4 years after leaving the factory, with front spring perches suddenly snapping off. To bump up its profit margin just a little bit, Mercedes had thrown its 100-year-old unshakable reputation right into the trash bin. Today, when you walk into a Mercedes showroom, you buy massive screens and 64-color ambient lighting. But those cars are not built to last forever. They are luxury mobile phones on wheels that are meant to be swapped for a new one the moment the lease expires. The W124, however, was not a consumer commodity. It was a legacy. The German engineers who drew its lines calculated that this car would serve not just its first owner, but their children. And if well maintained, even their grandchildren. It is the last remnant of the golden age of the automotive industry, the final grand victory of engineers over accountants. What do you think? Can the automotive world ever return to that level of pure and lifelong quality? Or are we completely doomed to the era of planned obsolescence? Write your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.